I want to start out with you and your background because you do have a very unique perspective as far as real estate executives go. You're a technologist first, and I'm curious, how did coming into the industry, the real estate industry as a technologist, what were your first impressions? Were we tech forward?
Let me ask the audience first, how many people here came from technology into real estate? Okay, so I see a lot of hands.
Yeah.
So it happens. I love real estate. I think it's a beautiful and smart category, probably one of the largest in the world today after commodities. And coming from technology, we all think we understand real estate. We all thought that we renovated our bathroom and therefore we get it. Took me about 2.5 years. But I studied technology, math, computer science, then started startups in the tech world, and was invited into the real estate world by my family. My family has been in real estate for the last 67 years. And constantly you meet over dinners, over the Friday night dinners, spending time. And my father-in-law said, "You've got to come here. This is exciting, this is amazing." I said, "But I never studied real estate. How do you want me to be in this?" And he said, "I never studied real estate either." I studied law.
Mr. Larry Silverstein didn't study real estate.
No, he actually started the real estate program at NYU, which is the first and the largest one in the country. But
wow.
There was no program when he started.
Wow.
You had to learn on your own skin. You had to figure it out then.
Yeah.
And he started from the law side and from the demand side, speaking to clients. He was a broker. Okay. He said as a broker at the time, it was very different than today. And he said, well, I need to be an owner. I need to get into the ownership side. And that's how he got in.
Wow.
So I had kind of
a good mentor, really.
The best.
Yeah.
The number one mentor I can imagine. And I wouldn't call it baptism by fire, but going through it step by step, learning, understanding the subtleties, the differences, the difficulties. At the end, it is all about the team, it's all about people, it's all about understanding what real estate really means and bringing what you can in terms of leadership to the right people.
I think you said something very interesting with that baptism by fire. I think that anyone in a real estate organization or a tech startup or both has experienced that feeling. And something tells me that startup culture is very important to you. Did you help apply that to Silverstein?
I think, probably I bring it with me because that has been my background, but the culture of startups in the tech world, I would be specific because there are startups in different categories, very different than real estate. The tech world is about move quickly, break things, and see what happens. And then improve and improve. And
you can't break things in real estate?
You should not. You can. I've seen examples. There was a recent example that I read about a developer that reduced some of the steel in terraces, and the terraces fell. That was not a good story. So you should not break. You should
I'll keep that in mind.
You should figure out how to build things that stay and last forever, if you can. And that's one of the difficulties between the tech and ecosystem, the technology companies and the real estate owners. How many in the room are in the real estate side per se, meaning real estate owners, brokers? Wow, that's a big, you can keep your hands up, yeah, just so I see roughly. It's about 40%, 50% of the room. And how many come from the tech side of the world? Okay, that's about a third. That's what you roughly estimated at the beginning. So there is a big gap between the two worlds. Yeah. That's why we say that real estate is very slow to adapt to new technologies. Very difficult for us. If you're starting a project, you're going to build now 4 seasons in Disney. Okay, so I can tell you how many companies approached us to say, you have to use my technology. It's the best. It will help you improve by X. But you know that statistically, 95% of these companies will not be here in 4 years. So what do? Do you try all of them? Do you try 50% of them? Do you guess? Or you try what is proven and what has been working for the longest time for others? At the same time, there is a big room for innovation and technology into the real estate world. And usually those who use it early can win more, gain more, because we are an industry of some fairly high leverage and relatively low margins compared to other industries.
Yeah, something I think is interesting is that, as you said, the real estate tech side of things right now is very full of startups, and many startups, like you said, might not be here. You all have a partnership with a pretty big, long-lasting tech company, Apple. That I think is really cool. I think the industry would really benefit to hear. How did you get Apple involved in Silverstein Properties?
It's a good question. How did we get Apple involved? And part of it has to do with culture. Mm-hmm. And with asking the consumers what do they need and then finding what are the solutions. At Silverstein, in order to change a little bit our culture, or a lot, most companies have a chief information officer or a chief technology officer. We have a chief technology officer, she's terrific. And we have a chief innovation officer, that his job, he's sitting over there.
Hey, guy.
Hey, Guy Vardy. And he's himself an entrepreneur, a CEO of startup companies before, and from a family of entrepreneurship, innovation, inventions. His father started the Museum of Inventions in Israel. And he can look at things a different way, very different than me. He can break things and then fix them and put them together. And one of the demands we saw was people want to access buildings with their phone rather than a card because they want to use amenities that may not be in the specific building you're assigned to. So if you are in one building at the World Trade Center and you have another amenity, a gym at the building next door, do you get 2 building ID cards and then you have a squash course in the 3rd building? Then they will give you another ID card. Who are you, really? Can you have an on-demand provisioning using something you never lose? Because everybody loses their ID card at some point. Right?
I have lost my phone, I have to say.
Okay, that's another problem. But at least you can. That's a bigger problem. But at least you know that very quickly, right?
Yes, very quickly.
Okay, and then you cancel it, right?
Yes.
Okay, so effectively your ID is canceled.
Yeah.
But your building ID, if you lost it during the day, you may not know until the next day. Someone can, in terms of security, access the building.
Yeah.
And you will not understand what happened to your ID. You go and ask for another ID. But the phone, you cancel, you get another phone.
Yeah.
So we spent time with Apple. They said, that's a great idea. We would love to have access to properties using the NFC rather than Bluetooth. There are a lot of technologies of Bluetooth. It never really works. It's too slow. You have to synchronize, and you don't understand 2 people in the lobby, and then one cannot enter. Mm-hmm. But the NFC is proven. The fact that you can pay, I don't know, how many people here came through the subway today? Nobody? Oh, I see. I did. I raised my hand. I came through the subway. And I used my phone to pay through the turnstile and just walk in. Yeah. So it's much easier when I have my phone. Apple liked it. To say they liked it and to say that it was implemented took 2.5 years.
Wow.
To implement, to work with a startup, one of the Silvertech company startups, called Swift Connect, but with Silverstein, and implement and test, and because you're not connecting old technology with new technology with your phone.
Yeah. That's really interesting. And something you mentioned that I think is interesting is security. As far as tech is concerned, there is another type of security we're all thinking about, cybersecurity. I know this is something you're very passionate about. How do you think real estate companies should be thinking about cybersecurity? How are you all approaching it at Silverstein?
Well, that's a deep question. We don't have a lot of time.
I'm a deep thinker.
We don't have a ton of time, but I'll try. In this day and age, cyber security becomes more and more of a problem in the world. And we all focus on the alarming signs of it, but it becomes worse as the world kind of fragments itself between different countries even, from Russia, China, every country, they are starting to attack because it's easier. Yeah. And with AI, it's even easier. Back in 2017, a company called Merck, that a lot of people know, were hacked. They just earlier this year, they had to pay $1.4 billion because of that hack. Wow. But in 2017, they were hacked. A lot of the data was stolen, effectively all their clients' data. and they could not resolve the issue for a long time. The hackers entered through some of the building securities, because a lot of the real estate owners, I don't know if any of you checked, they keep the password as the word password, or the default.
These folks out here.
And yes, no one does, yes. But they don't even know, ask most of the real estate developers, owners, they don't even know what is the password for their turnstile system. And every time the people from Securitas or other companies show up, and I've seen it happen over and over, something doesn't work, they reset the password and everything and go back to the beginning. Merck were hacked. They were hacked into their servers. They were hacked in so many ways. They couldn't get into their building for over 2 weeks.
Wow.
Their employees could not get in, and customer client information was stolen. MGM were hacked September 2023.
Yeah.
People could not get into the casinos, could not pay, could not get to the hotel rooms for 3 weeks. That's a lot of money every day.
Yeah.
And then we saw a startup back after Merck called Semperis that were dealing with Active Directory, which is a place where hackers usually change permissions. So you think you found the hack. You say, okay, let's go back to all the data we had a month ago. You revert your information back a month ago. The hackers are still in. They actually entered 6 months ago or a year ago. They just kept it dormant inside. And you don't know where. So how do you really go back in your time to a place where it's safe and then start to add users, your employees or building tenants in a safe way?
Yeah.
You have to have kind of like an old record system where you can turn it back and say, let's check now. Are the hackers in? Oh, they're still in. Let's go back. Turn it, turn it, turn it. So Semperis was a startup, came to us with about 3 people. They were like, at the time. Now they have 700 employees. They are significant. They are a unicorn. KKR invested in them recently. A significant amount, 250 million. And you see the need of what they do, which is really important for our industry and other industries as well.
Yeah, yeah, and in level of importance. I know was it silent epidemic you called it, cybersecurity? How prominent do you think that this is in the industry, but folks aren't speaking about it?
I think it's very, very prevalent. It's across all of our industry. In the last stat I saw by McKinsey, 98% of the Fortune 500 companies were hacked. Wow. Which means, do you really think that you have the 2% that were not, or that are not telling?
You're lucky 2%, I don't know.
You're lucky 2% that are not saying that they were hacked. So almost all of our tenants probably were hacked at one point or another. They are under attack daily. And it continues, and it just gets more and more sophisticated. If you look at the stats out there, the numbers, we hear about the big stories that the companies are finding hard to hide. And the problems become just more severe with time, where the hackers are becoming more, as a business, more sophisticated of how to extract money out of corporations that were hacked. If they can shut you down, if they can take your data, if they can steal credit card information, data of 23andMe were hacked. Can you imagine if you did, I don't know anybody here did 23andMe. Your information is out there. They know everything about you, your DNA, your name. They were hacked. Yeah. A lot of fun. Yeah. So we have to be careful. It's a constant race. I think we need to surround ourselves with smart people. Yeah. We are not a cyber company, but we believe that protection and being careful and knowing the methodologies, super important. Yeah, that's really interesting. Something I do want to touch on, it's something that the world can't get enough of, 2 little letters, AI. How are you thinking about AI as it relates to real estate companies? I'm hearing this question a lot from our team and sometimes from some of our tenants. My belief, my background was AI. That's what I studied in university, in the Tel Aviv University. That was my graduation project. We created a game that plays chess and a software that identifies faces and fun stuff. Wow. But at the time, it was really underappreciated, or people looked at it as something that is never going to really happen. And today, people think it will change everything. Yeah. Underhyped and overhyped to some extent. there will be a big category of companies who are winners in the AI space. Today, everybody is AI.
Yeah.
I don't know what exactly that means because I sit on the board of the School of Engineering, Tandon, the School of Engineering at NYU, and we have probably the number one or one of the top 3 people in the world in AI, Jan LeCun, who won the Turing Prize. And he has his own observation of the world and where it's headed. There are good things about AI, and there are bad things that you, like any technology, you can use it for good, you can use it for bad.
Yeah.
It will have an impact on our world, for sure. It would help some companies, to my belief at least, become more efficient, which means either they'll become bigger, faster, and then they'll have more employees, or they'll make themselves more efficient and reduce number of employees. Depends on the company.
Yeah.
Right? If you asked, does AI help Microsoft become more efficient? Absolutely. But they hire.
Yeah.
They hire a lot because they want more people who understand AI.
Yeah.
It really depends on the category.
Yeah.
And we have to be aware of it. We have to be smart about it. We have to find and pick the winners. If you pick the losers, then I don't know if you know who were the 4th company in the ride-sharing space.
4th.
Aha. Yes, who was the 4th? But you remember number 1 and number 2, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was racking my brain trying to remember a 3rd.
Aha. And who was the 13th company in the search space?
That I cannot tell you. I just know Google.
That was the 13th.
Really?
Good luck. So you guessed it correctly. Google was the number 13 that came to the market. But you remember them, only them.
Yeah.
Do you remember Alta Vista, Mosaic? There were a lot of different, Dogpile. There were a lot of search engines that most of them just don't exist.
Yeah.
Or they exist for the very few. So in AI, there will also be, I think, a lot of stories and very few winners. We need to find the winners.
Yeah. And I think that any innovation globally can be a catalyst for real estate as well. Do you think AI could be a catalyst for some markets, for real estate markets like San Francisco or New York?
Yes. Well, San Francisco has its own challenges.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
we don't need to get into that.
Right. That's another, if I have another few hours, but no.
Yeah.
New York, I think I learned a big lesson from my father-in-law, from Larry Silverstein, that said, never bet against New York. New York sees cycles, always. And in the 67 years we've been in business, we've seen ups and downs and cycles. And New York basically is a hub, a gravitational place where people, immigration, and technology meet. We became number 2 in the country after Silicon Valley, and we're much more dense.
Yeah.
A lot of it comes from great schools. You have Columbia, NYU, and others that are here. And a lot of it comes because we are kind of the center point, the entry point to the United States.
Yeah.
If you are outside of the US, and you dream, and you're smart, and you're successful, and you studied, and you dream about success, and you say, I want to go to the US, where the land of opportunity. I immigrated, I came here in 1997, but if you're looking at yourself and saying, where do I go?
New York.
What? Exactly.
Yeah.
New York. And that means that New York will flourish. That means that long-term New York will succeed.
Yeah.
That means we also have to solve the housing situation because
Yeah.
they come and they don't know where to stay.
Yeah.
And that's another issue.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that, the past couple years, we've all been racking our brains about many things happening in the industry. What innovative solutions, tech, non-tech, do you see helping to resolve some of the things we're thinking about, whether it's different footprints, different markets. Some markets doing well, some markets doing not so well. Do you think there are tech solutions out there?
If there are tech solutions for how people or markets can succeed and people can have more space, there are technologies. There's a startup that helps. It's against our better interest, but a company called Dojo, which is basically a playground or a training ground. Like you go to the dojo to train yourself to become a better martial artist. They take your company's footprint, they analyze the employees' turnstile information and where they are put in the physical space, and they can find how to optimize for a company where people should be. So now a company that needed 3 floors now need only 2 floors. but they're happier, they will stay for longer, they're willing to pay for more services, and now, if you're smart enough, you can find another company that other floor, without additional investment or just paint the walls, can take that space.
Wow.
So that's a way, using AI to analyze a lot of data that we cannot, as real estate owners, digest,
Yeah.
or it's hard for us.
Yeah.
And then they will help the tenants do that. There are technologies that bring hospitality, which is helping people feel that they can use less personal space and get more common space. So apartments can be smaller. There is a platform called Inspire. There are many tenant apps that I've seen out there, many. We see about 30 to 50 companies approach us every month. We will probably pick one company every 2 months. So it's roughly 1%,
Yeah.
maybe a little more. This specific technology that focused on hospitality, it's called Inspire Labs, and they have offices in Canada, in Toronto, and offices in the US. They provided with technology that provides a lot of services for tenants. So tenants like it. They feel then, wow, I'm getting a lot for my money. I can stay in a tiny apartment, but I feel it's much bigger. And then they can enjoy, you enjoy as a landlord that you have a tenant that otherwise, on average, would have churned very quickly.
Yeah.
We looked at the stats years ago.
You see direct retention from these technologies?
Yes, absolutely. We measure it constantly. We looked at the metrics. And every time a tenant leaves, you know that you're going to have to clean the apartment. You're losing a month or 2 weeks of re-renting it, fixing it. It's a lot of loss. And the retention went up. The average retention in New York is around 50%. And we went up from properties that were 55. They were already above because, I guess, the quality. And they went to over 70%,
Wow.
75% in retention. And we asked the tenants, why? What made you stay? We have to ask. And they give us the feedback. So it has to do with what services do you give them? Are they happy with where they are? Do they think they'll get the same elsewhere?
Yeah.
And if they don't, then they will stay. You give them discounts in all the stores. The software already analyzed someone. It's a human and technology combination. It's not just tech. So there is a lot of human involvement that goes and negotiates with every store in the neighborhood to give a discount to whomever uses that
Wow.
app. That's just one example.
Yeah.
I don't want to stop you because our time is limited. I can
Yes, we are short on time, but I think we could talk all day. I think to send folks off, looking forward to the future of real estate, what's something that really excites you about the industry?
Look at this room.
Yeah.
I look at all of you here. The room is pretty full. So we are about 800 people in this room.
Yeah, at least, yeah. If folks are staying in the back, it's more than that.
Yeah, there are folks standing in the back. So 800 to 900 people in this room. You could have done it in your underwear on Zoom at home. No, right? Why are you all here? Why did we all come here? Not because of me, no. Nobody came because of me. No, thank you. I appreciate
Bonnie,
it.
I'm here for you.
We're here for you. But we came to see each other. We came to be close to each other, to be able to connect. It's much harder to connect on a level that we get here on a Zoom, on a screen. It's better than nothing on a screen, but it doesn't come close to being in person, talking to people, exchanging business cards, or if you have it on your phone, there is an app that you basically scan and you get all the data. But you see someone, you remember them, you connect with them. 80% of the connection, the communication is nonverbal. It's not going to be on a screen. So people want to be together. So for our industry, to your question, I think, and I'm trying not to speak from position as an owner, as a landlord, buildings, definitely for residential, are not going away. We need more housing in this country. We need another 5 million homes, and the cost is high, so it's harder to get there. And in the office space, we see that good buildings get more traction. And the older the building, if it's too old, there was kind of a shock to the system, and they need to do something about it.
Yeah.
They need to fix it. So we have older properties that we invested a lot, and then tenants are flocking back in. But you really need to make sure that you understand. The simplest metric is young companies, young startups are all in.
Yeah.
They don't do it remotely. Very few startups that I've seen are starting the company, 3 founders sitting on Zoom all day long, and then hire more people remotely.
Yeah.
So the 25 people, 100 people, startups, they're all in now. They come 4.5 days, 5 days a week. While some of the older corporations converge to the 3.2 to 3.5 days a week, depends on the city, which means there are more days at home, but their employees mostly come in. And you see the landlords asking themselves, where will it end? How will it impact my footprint as an owner of office? Slowly, we are seeing the convergence to a certain place, according to all the studies, and I'm not the one providing the metrics. You can find it from the Castle data, you can find it from the McKinsey studies. It shows that the convergence is that companies are now much more into the office space, and if you are in the office 3.5 days a week or 3.2 days a week, the company needs the same footprint as 4.2 days a week, as they were before. But people are more conservative today. That's why there is a risk to some properties, to a lot of properties, that they won't be able to fill themselves effectively as before.
But you see tech as that answer. Innovation. Innovation.
I think innovation will help. I don't think it's the answer. I don't. That's not what I'm saying. No. I think it's one ingredient. There is a lot you have to do. I don't think innovation alone will solve the problem. It doesn't. That means that you may have companies that are in the forefront of innovation, pick the winners, and you'll be fine. I don't think innovation will make you, as a landlord, if you have a building at 70% occupancy and you can't get above it, let's just deploy innovation and now it will be 90. Not the case. You should do, there is a playbook of what to do. I think we're happy to sit with owners. We won't do it at the time shows 0. We won't do it now. We're happy to share with everyone. I don't think we're an industry of less competition than other industries because nobody's going to move your building. So people share with each other all the time, which is great.
I think conversations will absolutely help between companies. Yes. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Tal.
James, thank you.
An honor to see you today. Awesome. Thank you.